There are moments when everything feels too quiet, as if the universe itself has stopped answering us. The absence of signs, the distance from that person, and the weight of time make hope waver. Yet, beyond appearances, something deeper continues to pulse. An unbreakable connection between two souls that recognized each other long before they could understand what they felt. When everything seems lost, that's precisely when the invisible begins to act. Something greater is guiding the reunion, and not even separation can undo the love inscribed in the spirit. On the path of self-knowledge, Jung teaches us that the other is a mirror, revealing what has yet to be integrated within us. Today, we dive into that truth. If you feel that love alive within you, comment, "I trust the reconnection with my twin flame." In Carl Jung's view, the true meeting between two souls is much more than a romantic experience. It's a psychological and spiritual crossing toward wholeness. The idea of the twin flame can be understood within analytical psychology as the symbolic manifestation of the individuation process, the path through which one integrates inner polarities to become whole. When someone feels they've found their other half, they are actually facing the projection of unrecognized aspects of themselves. Jung warned of the power of projections. What fascinates or wounds us in another often reflects what dwells in our own unconscious. The separation between twin flames is often necessary for individuation to take place. In that interval, we are forced to look inward and confront our shadow, the collection of impulses, traumas, and truths we've rejected. It is through that confrontation that we mature emotionally and spiritually. Jung also emphasized the importance of integrating the archetypes of the feminine, anima, and masculine, animus, as essential parts of this journey. The twin flame represents the archetypal mirror that activates this integration. To love another, then, is to accept the invitation to love oneself deeply, including the forgotten or denied parts. Deep love still exists, not merely as a feeling but as a force of transformation. Even from afar, the connection remains active on a symbolic level, pushing both souls toward growth. Giving up doesn't only mean letting the other go, it means abandoning your own process of self-discovery. And that is where the journey truly gains meaning. The separation between twin flames may seem like a devastating end, but from Jung's perspective, it marks the beginning of a deep alchemical process. The distance, however painful, is a necessary stage for inner transformation. When Jung spoke of individuation, he referred to the integration of all fragmented parts of the being, and few experiences awaken as many unconscious forces as the separation from someone who feels like part of your own soul. The connection between twin flames transcends the physical plane. It resonates within the collective unconscious, activating ancient archetypes like Eros, the love that unites, and Thanatos, the pain of loss. Separation, in this context, is not a mistake or punishment, but a necessary impulse for each soul to dive within, to recognize what was projected onto the other, and to begin the return to the inner center. The intense love felt in this bond is not only for the other person, but for what they awaken within us, the memory of lost wholeness. During the distance, feelings such as abandonment, rejection, anguish, and despair arise. Jung understood these emotions as manifestations of the shadow, the unconscious part of the psyche containing everything repressed or unacknowledged. When the twin flame steps away, they are not just leaving physically, they are unconsciously revealing the wounds that need healing. And it is through this movement that the true alchemy of the soul begins, the process of transmuting pain into self-knowledge. In spiritual alchemy, the fire of absence purifies. Just as the alchemist transforms lead into gold, the soul, when confronting the void left by separation, begins to refine illusions, dependencies, and unconscious desires. The twin flame forces us to face our deepest needs, often tied to childhood, primary bonds, or the sense of incompleteness. When that essential figure withdraws, we are called to find within ourselves what we once sought in the other. This process is silent, internal, and often solitary, yet absolutely necessary for true evolution. Jung said that nothing changes until it becomes conscious. The pain of separation is one of the greatest catalysts for awareness. It compels us to observe our patterns and question our beliefs about love, attachment, and identity. We're invited to let go of the romantic illusion that another comes to complete us. and instead to recognize that true love begins with reunion with oneself. The twin flame on this symbolic path is not someone who comes to save us, but someone who awakens in us the call for inner salvation. That's why separation, rather than something to be avoided, must be seen as a sacred passage. Pain, when accepted, becomes a bridge. And the silence of absence can turn into a deep dialogue with the unconscious, where answers arrive not through words, but through visions, dreams, symbols, and intuition. The alchemy of separation is neither quick nor linear. It passes through despair, denial, anger, and sorrow, but also illumination, clarity, and strength. As we purify ourselves from the desire for control and the illusion of possession, we begin to love more freely and deeply. The twin flame does not stop loving when they withdraw. They simply reflect the need for that love to be reborn from a new level of consciousness. In the end, distance reveals that the true reunion begins within. When each one returns to their own center, to the self, Jung's concept representing the totality of the psyche, the outer reunion becomes possible, now renewed, conscious, and real. Separation was only the beginning of true union. The encounter with the twin flame often feels magical, intense, and transformative. Yet behind the feeling of completeness and recognition lies a powerful psychic dynamic: projection. Jung devoted much of his work to this mechanism, attributing to another qualities, traits, or aspects belonging to our own unconscious, especially to our shadow, everything we don't recognize or accept within ourselves. The twin flame often appears as a mirror of the soul. The immediate fascination, the sense of "I've known you before," and the emotional intensity are not merely signs of deep love, but indicators that vital parts of our inner world are being activated. By projecting onto the other what remains unhealed, we create an idealized story that inevitably falls apart. Pain then appears, not as punishment, but as an opportunity to awaken. Jung affirmed that individuation, the path to becoming whole, requires reintegration of the shadow. The relationship with the twin flame, due to its intensity, exposes our emotional wounds, insecurities, fears, and hidden desires. Anger, jealousy, excessive attachment, the sense of abandonment or rejection. These are manifestations of the shadow rising to the surface, not to destroy us but to be seen clearly. The other is not the cause of suffering. They awaken what was already dormant within. This confrontation with the shadow is inevitable. The more we resist, the stronger the pain becomes. We often idealize the twin flame as a perfect being destined only for us, someone who fills every void. Yet that idealization is itself a projection. We see in the other not who they truly are, but what we deeply long to find within ourselves. That's why disillusionment hurts so much. It's not only about losing the other, but the fantasy we believed necessary for our own completeness. The shadow holds both negative traits and unrealized potential. When we project these onto our twin flame, they become our greatest source of love and our greatest trigger for pain. The conflict, the silence, the separations, and the reunions form a symbolic cycle meant not just to sustain a relationship, but to heal the soul. The pain we feel in relation to the other often mirrors what we have not yet learned to love within ourselves. Jung said that light is only possible through integration of the shadow. The relationship with the twin flame is fertile ground for that integration. Instead of trying to change or flee from the other, we are invited to look inward. Why does this person's attitude hurt me so much? Why does their absence feel unbearable? Which part of me is seeking from them something I have not yet learned to offer myself? These uncomfortable questions are essential for personal growth. Healing begins when we stop the cycle of projection and start seeing the other with more reality and less fantasy. The twin flame ceases to be the savior and becomes the mirror. They are no longer the one meant to complete us, but the one who revealed what still needed integration. By letting go of idealization, we make room for true love, one that accepts, understands, and doesn't demand perfection. Integrating the shadow doesn't eliminate suffering, it makes it conscious. When we understand that the other's role is not to heal our wounds but to reveal them, we start walking a new path. The relationship becomes a journey. Love shifts from imprisonment to liberation. And even if the twin flame remains distant, the transformation endures, because the true encounter has already taken place within. Few paths are as challenging and revealing as the journey of individuation. For Carl Jung, It is the most vital process of psychic life, to become who one truly is, integrating all aspects of the unconscious into awareness. Paradoxically, love, especially the kind experienced through the twin flame connection, becomes the most powerful catalyst of this inner journey. True love, unlike idealized passion, is a force that drives us inward. It dismantles masks, breaks social roles, and tears down the narratives we've built about ourselves. When we meet someone who seems to see our soul, something breaks. We can no longer live superficially. The twin flame awakens not only the desire for union, but the urgency to know who we truly are beyond defenses, wounds, and illusions. This urgency is uncomfortable. It exposes inner chaos. Jung said individuation begins when the persona, the mask we wear before the world, is no longer enough. The encounter with the twin flame often triggers this collapse. Old patterns stop working, control slips away, and emotions become almost unbearable. It is the unconscious calling us inward, toward reconciliation with the self. The self, in Jungian psychology, is the organizing center of the psyche, the totality that includes both the conscious and the unconscious. The journey toward it requires confronting the shadow, integrating inner archetypal opposites, such as masculine and feminine, and breaking away from false identities. Love with the twin flame accelerates this process because it activates all these forces at once. At first, this journey may look like obsession with the other, but with time, and through the pain of separation, comes the realization that the real calling was never to have the other, but to become whole. The twin flame's absence redirects focus inward. Love stops being something outward and becomes a field of inner discovery. Every memory, pain, dream, and synchronicity turns into a symbol, guiding the individual through a meaningful path. In that sense, individuation is an initiatory path. Like all rites of passage, it demands loss, confrontation, and rebirth. The old identity must die for new consciousness to emerge. In this process, love is not abandoned, it transforms. From dependence it becomes devotion. From lack it becomes surrender. The other stops being a savior and becomes a teacher. Jung noted that the unconscious tends towards self-regulation. This means that everything we need to integrate begins manifesting through dreams, encounters, separations, and repetitions. The twin flame is one of these living manifestations, pushing us to our limits so we can transcend them. It's not just about loving another, but crossing through love itself as a portal to self-knowledge. Throughout individuation, moments of great clarity arise. There is a reunion with the sacred within. Many describe this point as reconnection with the soul, with God, with the source of existence. The twin flame remains present, not necessarily in the physical realm, but symbolically, as part of one's own psyche. Pain turns into compassion. Attachment dissolves into freedom. Love, now mature, becomes quiet yet eternal. The ultimate goal is no longer fusion with another, but union with the self. At that point, one understands the twin flame's true role: the fire that purified, the presence that revealed, the reflection that led to the center. From that transformation, one becomes capable of loving more consciously, deeply, and truthfully, whether through reunion with the twin flame or by recognizing that the love sought in another has always lived within. When Jung described the collective unconscious, he opened a doorway to understanding that the human psyche is neither isolated nor bound by time. There exists a deeper layer of mind, where symbols, archetypes, and universal experiences reside, shared by all humanity. It is in this realm that the connection between twin flames remains alive, even when physical separation seems final. True love isn't confined by time or space. It moves through the symbolic dimension, where all that is essential continues to evolve. The relationship between twin flames carries archetypal meaning. It evokes ancient myths: Eros and Psyche, Shiva and Shakti, Isis and Osiris, each expressing sacred polarity seeking reintegration. These myths are not mere stories. They are symbolic expressions of the collective unconscious, manifesting repeatedly in individual lives as patterns of profound experience. Separation, reunion, suffering, and transcendence are stages of this archetypal journey that, when lived consciously, lead to the expansion of the soul. Even at a distance, the bond between twin flames continues to operate energetically. It reveals itself through synchronicities, dreams, intuitions, and internal changes that unfold in parallel for both souls. Jung highlighted synchronicities as manifestations of hidden order, connecting outer events with inner states of meaning. When you think of your twin flame, feel their presence, or dream of them, it's not mere coincidence but a real movement of the psyche toward wholeness. It is in the symbolic realm that true reconnection happens. The other may be physically distant, involved in different experiences, but within the soul they remain present as an active symbol. That symbol should not be confused with the literal image of the person. It represents everything their presence awakened: the call to completeness, the awakening of unconditional love, the encounter with one's essence. Remaining connected to that symbol is not living in the past. It's allowing it to keep transforming you within. Over time, as one advances in the individuation journey, attachment to the outer form of the other dissolves. Love does not vanish. It shifts from desire to possession into deep acceptance. The twin flame becomes part of one's personal mythology, a psychic force that guides and inspires. Jung understood that all great encounters, especially those bringing pain and transformation, are expressions of the soul striving for realization. At this level, there is no more urgency, demand, or fear, only surrender. The pain of absence becomes part of the mystery, and the other's silence turns into sacred space. Reconnection is no longer an external goal, but a natural consequence of inner maturity. The other may or may not return physically, but is already integrated symbolically, and it is that integration that brings true peace. This symbolic dimension also offers a new perception of time. Psychological time differs from linear time. Jung recognized that the unconscious doesn't operate chronologically, but in cycles, repetitions, and unexpected revelations. What once seemed over may return in new and surprising ways. The love between twin flames isn't a fixed point, but a continuous flow in transformation. It lives in the soul like a seed, growing in its own rhythm, in its own unseen way. Trusting this symbolic reconnection requires emotional maturity and psychic faith, not blind faith in the literal return of the other, but deep trust that nothing true is ever lost. Love, once awakened, keeps working within the soul as a creative force, and if reunion is meant to happen, it will come, not as a need, but as the natural expression of completeness already found within. True reconnection happens when love ceases to be a search and becomes a presence. When looking within, one finds not only oneself but also the essence of the other, alive and transformed. That is the point where the journey reaches fulfillment, and the love between twin flames reveals its highest nature, an eternal, symbolic, and profoundly transformative bond. The journey with the twin flame is not merely about two bodies seeking each other, but about two souls pushing one another toward their own wholeness. The separation, the projections, the pain, and the inner reunion are not obstacles to love. They are the very path of transformation. As Jung taught, it is in the most challenging moments that we are led to confront what must be healed, to integrate the shadow, and to recognize the self as the center of totality. The love between twin flames transcends time, appearance, and even physical presence. It lives in the deepest layers of the unconscious, operating as symbol, as guide, as mirror. And when that love is lived consciously, it no longer binds, it liberates. It no longer hides, it reveals. If this journey resonates with your soul, don't ignore the call. Keep exploring, feeling, transforming. Subscribe to the channel, activate notifications, and dive into other videos that illuminate the path of self-knowledge. And don't forget to watch the video appearing on your screen. It may be the very message your soul needs right now.